At Daehan High School, Kim Gwang-soo, one of the top school bullies, was trying to provoke Jae-min. The boy tried to avoid the situation, but Gwang-soo had already decided to bully him. He punched him in the face without any mercy. Then he asked Jae-min to slap him back. When Jae-min raised his hand, Gwang-soo hit him again until he started bleeding. Every student stayed quiet. Nobody responded. Gwang-soo repeatedly asked Jae-min to punch him back. Suddenly, an unexpected hard slap hit Gwang-soo, causing him to lose his balance. Everyone was shocked for a moment. Even Gwang-soo was unable to process what had just happened. It was none other than our handsome Hwa Jin, a fearless former military field supervisor and inspector in the ERPB, who takes direct and unyielding action against school bullies. Gwang-soo angrily shouted at Hwa Jin. But the fearless Hwa Jin fought back, punched him again, and knocked him down. All the students couldn't believe what they were witnessing. Gwang-soo stood up again and tried to attack, but Hwa Jin's next punch sent him sliding across the floor. Embarrassed, Gwang-soo got back on his feet and charged at him once more. This time, Hwa Jin landed another punch that knocked him unconscious. Hwa Jin then signaled the students to remain silent. He told them that they should come to school to study, not to become rowdies. Hwa Jin joined the school because of the suicide of Park Dae-suk, who was Jae-min's best friend. He was not a weak student. At school, Ryu Jun-hyang was the primary bully and the arrogant son of the powerful and wealthy Congressman Ryu Kwang-pil. One day during class, Jun-hyang was watching a video. When the teacher scolded him for not paying attention, he replied that her class was boring, showing no respect for her. Unable to tolerate the insult anymore, Dae-suk punched Jun-hyang to teach him a lesson. Because of this incident, Jun-hyang and his gang bullied Dae-suk relentlessly. They made him the school's main target, where he was subjected to intense physical violence, extortion, and public humiliation while the teachers and school system looked the other way. The teachers feared the students because, at another school, a student had stabbed a teacher to death. Using his father's influence, Jun-hyang also ruined Dae-suk's father's business. Dae-suk begged Jun-hyang for mercy, but Jun-hyang became even more cruel and told him to take his own life if he wanted to save his father. With no other option left, Dae-suk decided to end his life. The next morning, when Jae-min arrived at school, the first thing he witnessed was Dae-suk jumping from the rooftop. When the police arrived to investigate, Jae-min finally had some hope. But using Kwon-pil's political influence, the case was closed, and nobody was held responsible. After Dae-suk's death, Jae-min became their next victim. At present, Jun-hyang witnessed his friend being knocked down by an unknown man. He demanded to know who he was and said that he was not allowed to hit a student inside the school. He then told everyone to record the incident. As Gwang-soo got back on his feet, he asked Hwa Jin how he was going to react now. However, Hwa Jin showed no mercy. He landed another punch and said, "You asked for it," while everything was being recorded on camera. Soon, the principal arrived at the scene and asked who he was. Hwa Jin showed his ID and introduced himself as an inspector from the ERPB. When the principal pointed out that he still could not hit a student like that, Hwa Jin explained that the ERPB had been granted special legal authority, including the use of physical force and psychological pressure, to discipline delinquent students and reform schools that failed to fight back against violent student gangs and bullies. Later, in the principal's office, the principal informed Hwa Jin that many students came from influential families, so his forceful methods would not be easy to use, especially against students like Jun-hyang. After hearing everything, Hwa Jin said that he was going to take charge of Dae-suk's class because he wanted justice. When he entered the classroom, the students realized that things were not going to end well. He started taking attendance. When he mentioned Dae-suk's name and asked about his death, one student said that Dae-suk was a coward who took his own life. Hwa Jin grabbed the student's lips, scolded him, and pushed him to the floor. He said that even after a classmate had died, they felt no guilt and were still making jokes about him. When another student tried to hit Hwa Jin with a book, Hwa Jin struck him back with the same book. He then ordered everyone to do push-ups. However, Jun Hyang told the students not to do them. Smirking at Hwa Jin, he said, "They're more afraid of me than they are of you." Hwa Jin smiled, walked over to Jun Hyang, and slammed his head onto the desk. Then Hwa Jin told him to start doing push-ups. Terrified, Jun Hyang obeyed and started doing push-ups. Seeing him comply, the rest of the students quickly followed. At lunchtime, as usual, Jun Hyang broke the line to get food. But Hwa Jin told him that the rules were the same for everyone and that he had to stand in the queue. Ignoring his warning, Jun Hyang picked up the food with his hands and threw it directly into the waste bin. Hwa Jin kicked him down and told him that food was precious. He then humiliated Jun Hyang in front of everyone by rubbing a mop on his face, just as Jun Hyang had done to others before, and ordered him to clean up the mess. The students laughed at him. Later, during the cleaning duty, Jun Hyang kicked Jiang Min and left without finishing his assigned work, while the other students continued cleaning. Hwa Jin went straight to Jun Hyang's house and met his father, Kwang Pil. He told him that Jun Hyang had failed to obey the school rules because he had left without completing his cleaning duty. Then, grabbing Jun Hyang by the ear, Hwa Jin pulled him out of the house and assigned him to clean the toilets. Unable to endure the humiliation any longer, Jun Hyang slammed his own head against the toilet to frame Hwa Jin. Kwang Pil stormed in to question Hwa Jin. However, Hwa Jin told him that his son had harmed himself, so it was not his fault. When Kwang Pil tried to threaten him, Hwa Jin clearly stated that he was not afraid of anyone. Later, Jun Hyang directly bullied Jiang Min again and punched him in the stomach, blaming him for reporting them to the Educational Rights Protection Bureau. Unable to endure the bullying any longer, Jiang Min also went to the edge of the rooftop to end his life. Fortunately, Hwa Jin pulled him back just in time. The two then spent some time talking. Hwa Jin told Jiang Min that his death would only make the bullies happy, whereas staying alive and exposing their crimes would bring them true justice. He promised to deal with the bullies himself and offered Jiang Min hope instead of despair. For the first time, Jiang Min found a new reason to keep living. Kwang Pil went to meet Choi Gang-suk, the minister of the ERPB, who uses tough and disciplined tactics to bring chaotic schools under control. He expressed his disagreement with the ERPB's approach and threatened Gang-suk, saying that he would go to any extent to protect his son. However, Gang-suk remained fearless and simply laughed off the threat. When Kwang Pil came out for a press meeting, reporters surrounded him and began asking questions. Widespread news about his corruption and affairs with multiple women had been leaked. Unable to answer their questions, Kwang Pil rushed into a hall to escape the media. To his surprise, Gang-suk was already waiting for him there. Gang-suk revealed that he had been secretly investigating Kwang Pil for the past 2 years. Shocked, Kwang Pil demanded to know why he was doing this. Gang-suk coldly replied that only if Kwang Pil fell would his son fall as well. He explained that Kwang Pil had used his immense power and influence to cover up his son's severe school violence, which had ultimately driven a student to suicide. Meanwhile, at school, Karma finally caught up with Jun Hyang. News about his father's corruption spread throughout the school, and he faced the same humiliation that he had once inflicted on others. Unable to control his anger, Jun Hyang brought gasoline to the classroom and poured it over his classmates, intending to burn them alive. Hwa Jin arrived just in time and pushed Jun Hyang into the corridor, where gasoline had also been spilled. Hwa Jin lit a cigarette lighter and ignited the gasoline. The flames quickly surrounded Jun Hyang. For the first time, he experienced the fear of death. Terrified, he cried and begged for his life. Hwa Jin then grabbed a fire extinguisher and put out the flames. He told Jun Hyang that this was the same fear Dae-suk had experienced and the same humiliation he had gone through before losing his life. Hwa Jin said that Dae-suk would never return, and that Jun Hyang should spend the rest of his life living with the regret of his actions. In the end, all the bullies were arrested, and the principal also received his punishment. Finally, Dae-suk got the justice he deserved. However, public opinion turned against the ERPB after videos of Hwa Jin handling Jun Hyang went viral. Facing the media, Gang-suk defended the ERPB's actions. He said that school violence and a broken education system had pushed many innocent students into silent suffering, while teachers had become powerless against violent students. He explained that the ERPB was created to restore discipline and protect victims, even if it meant taking tougher action against delinquent students. He ended his speech by saying, "If adults become afraid of children, the world is doomed." Later, Hwa Jin and Gang-suk visited the grave of Choi Jae-yoon, Gang-suk's daughter and Hwa Jin's fiancée. She had been stabbed to death by a student. Even after all this time, both of them were still heartbroken by her loss. Next, we meet Bong Gun-dae, the brilliant and tech-savvy deputy director of the ERPB. A fifth-grade civil servant, he was recruited by the bureau to help discipline corrupt students and reform toxic schools. He handles the cyber, surveillance, and IT aspects of their cases, often going undercover to expose toxic school environments. This time, Bong Gun-dae had to go undercover at Gun High-Tech High School, where a notorious student gang ruled the campus. The school was in complete chaos. As soon as he arrived, one of the students tried to provoke him, but he offered him some money to calm him down. When he entered the classroom, it looked more like a gang hideout than a place for learning. There, he met Park Song-hwan, a delinquent student from Gun High-Tech High School's automobile department, who was known for his severe lack of discipline and defiant attitude. When the teacher entered the classroom, the students insulted and mocked him until he was forced to leave. When Hwa Jin met the principal, he learned about Jang Kwan-hyuk, the intimidating, mafia-style delinquent leader who controlled the student body at Gun High-Tech High School. He was living a luxurious lifestyle. Every student dreamed of meeting him and joining his gang. Cho In-beom was the leader of a troublesome quartet from the school's electrical department. Meanwhile, one student wanted to get a tattoo, and a girl was being bullied. At the same time, students from the automobile department arrived, and a fight broke out between the automobile and electrical departments. Gun-dae was also dragged into the middle of the fight. He asked his classmate, Kim Hyang-ju, why they were fighting. Hyang-ju explained that whoever won the fight would get the chance to meet Jang Kwan-hyuk. Soon, a huge fight broke out. During the fight, Cho In-beom won and received a message saying that he could finally meet his hero. Afterward, Song-hwan poured all his anger on Hyang-ju. He punched him and destroyed his books. He then ordered Gun-dae to fight Hyang-ju. Realizing the situation, Hyang-ju deliberately pretended to lose the fight because, according to their rule, the loser would become the group's punching bag. Later, Hyang-ju was unable to walk properly. Feeling sorry for him, Gun-dae offered to carry his bag. The two of them had dinner together, and Gun-dae realized that Hyang-ju was a kind-hearted student who genuinely wanted to study in the automobile department, but unfortunately, he was trapped in the wrong environment. The ERPB team received all the recordings and evidence that Gun-dae had secretly captured using his metaglass. Later, Hwa Jin met Hyang-ju and revealed who they really were. Following Hwa Jin's instructions, Gun-dae went to the cafeteria, deliberately provoked all the gangs, and then ran away. The entire gang chased after him. He ran into the football ground and hid. Hwa Jin then locked the gate and walked toward the gang. He calmly instructed them to sit down and study. The gang smirked at him and immediately launched an attack. A massive fight broke out as Hwa Jin easily knocked them down one by one. Soon, every one of them was lying on the ground in pain. Hwa Jin then wrote a study schedule on the board and ordered them to study. As he expected, one of the gang members tried to attack him from behind. Without showing any mercy, Hwa Jin landed another punch and knocked him down once again. During class, Song-hwan said that he had forgotten his books to skip the lesson. Hwa Jin then asked Hyang-ju to write the notes on the board so everyone could copy them. He also set a timer. Cho In-beom claimed that he didn't have a pen. In response, Hwa Jin broke his finger. When the time was up, Hwa Jin erased the notes from the board. Whoever failed to finish taking notes was kicked one by one. Unable to endure the humiliation any longer, Song-hwan shouted that sitting in a classroom and taking notes was useless in real life. Hwa Jin agreed with him. He took Song-hwan to the school's automobile workshop for a practical lesson. However, neither Song-hwan nor Cho In-beom paid any attention. Hwa Jin then took both of them for a drive around the school in a car, driving recklessly to teach them a lesson. The two were terrified throughout the ride. Everyone was shocked and finally acknowledged Hwa Jin's driving skills. Later, while trying to escape, Song-hwan and Cho In-beom took Gundae with them to meet Jang Kwon-hyuk. After hearing that someone else was taking control of his school, Kwon-hyuk's pride was hurt. He later arrived at the school on a motorcycle to confront Hwa Jin. A massive fight broke out while the other students gathered to watch. At one point, Hwa Jin fell to the ground and pretended to be unconscious. Believing that he had won, Kwon-hyuk proudly celebrated while everyone cheered for him. Suddenly, Hwa Jin started clapping from the ground, surprising everyone. He stood up, and the fight resumed. Hwa Jin had deliberately allowed the other bullies to escape because his real target was Kwon-hyuk. Unable to stand against Hwa Jin any longer, Kwon-hyuk was knocked unconscious. When Kwon-hyuk's gang arrived, he briefly felt relieved. However, Hwa Jin effortlessly defeated them one by one, like a hero taking down a group of villains. Finally, after seeing their entire gang defeated, Song-hwan and Cho In-beom fell to their knees and begged for mercy. Hwa Jin told them to apologize to Hyung-ju. Hyung-ju burst into tears. Hwa Jin then told them that if they didn't want to study, they were free to leave, but they had no right to stop others from learning, studying, and receiving an education. After the incident, Gang-suk announced new school rules. Smoking was prohibited, students had to remove their tattoos, and motorcycles were no longer allowed on campus. For the first time after all the chaos, Hyung-ju finally felt relieved. In a flashback, we see Hwa Jin and Jae-yoon getting engaged. While they were together, they noticed some students smoking, and Jae-yoon stepped in to stop them. Later, one of the students stabbed Jae-yoon, leading to her death. During the court trial, Gyu Cheol admitted that he had killed Jae-yoon out of love. However, because he was a minor at the time, he was sentenced to only 2 years in prison. Hwa Jin was unable to accept the court's decision. Heartbroken, he tried to kill Gyu Cheol by running him over with a car, but Gang-suk stopped him just in time. After that incident, Gang-suk asked Hwa Jin to become a part of the ERPB and help protect the teachers and students who were suffering from school violence. Next, we are introduced to Hwang Ji-ae, an aspiring presidential candidate. He opposes Minister Choi Gang-suk in the ERPB because the bureau's growing success brings too much positive attention to his political rivals. After examining some old photographs, Ji-ae discovers the relationship between Gang-suk and Hwa Jin. He also uncovers the true origins of the ERPB and realizes why both of them are so determined to reform the education system. Another case arrived at the ERPB from Soyeon Girls High School. It involved the tragic death of a teacher, Ko Young-soo, which was connected to live streaming on campus. The main person behind the incident was Han Yiri, a teenage influencer. A wealthy and manipulative student, she broadcast conflicts to humiliate her teachers and manipulate public opinion. Using her massive social media following, Yiri spread false claims and turned public opinion against her teachers, destroying their reputations. The actual story then unfolds. During a class, teacher Jung Seon-young had a conflict with Yiri. As an act of revenge, Yiri edited footage of the teacher helping a student and made it appear as if she was abusing the student. The edited video quickly spread online, and nobody believed Jung Seon-young's side of the story. However, teacher Ko Young-soo witnessed Yiri editing the footage. He later called her privately and asked why she was doing such a thing, even though she had excellent grades and no disciplinary record. Yiri simply smiled. After coming out of his office, Yiri deliberately misplaced her uniform. Soon after, Yi falsely accused him of sexual assault. With both his personal and professional life destroyed, the innocent Ko Young-soo took his own life. Even at his funeral, online media arrived and created more chaos. Fearing that young Seon-young might also take her own life, some of Yi-ri's classmates sought help from the ERPB. At present, the ERPB assigned the case to Im Han-rim, a highly skilled and sharp inspector known for handling the bureau's toughest cases. She was sent to intervene at Soyeon Girls' High School. Inside the classroom, while introducing herself, the students paid no attention. One girl even mocked Han-rim by asking if she had undergone plastic surgery. Han-rim mocked her back by saying that she had undergone chest reduction surgery, something the student didn't need to worry about. Throughout the conversation, Yi was live streaming everything. The very next moment, Han-rim kicked the phone into the air. Yi-ri's expression immediately changed. Using a phone detector, Han-rim found every student's phone and collected them all. Soon, an official ERPB announcement was made, informing the students that they must follow the school rules and obey the inspector. Cameras were also installed throughout the school. Han-rim then forced the students to do outdoor exercises. Later, when Han-rim noticed Yi leaving without cleaning the classroom, she ordered her to come back and finish the cleaning duty. Meanwhile, Hwa Jin instructed the teachers to report any problems they faced with students. When Han-rim met Hwa Jin, she asked him to investigate Yi-ri's social media accounts. Gundae immediately began working on it. The next day, Han-rim printed every photo and post Yi had uploaded about the teachers on social media. She warned the students that anyone who continued posting such content would face legal action and punishment. Meanwhile, teacher Young Seon-young saw the videos circulating online, which made her extremely anxious. She even started applying for new jobs, but because her reputation had already been destroyed, no school was willing to accept her application. After a few days under Han-rim's supervision, Yi suddenly began behaving differently. She acted obedient, paid attention in class, and showed respect to the teachers. Han-rim immediately realized that Yi was planning something. She warned Seon-young not to trust Yi-ri's sudden change in behavior. Later, Yi approached Seon-young and invited her to appear in a live stream together. She claimed that she wanted to improve public opinion and convince the ERPB staff to leave the school. Later, Hwa Jin met Seon-young. She confessed that she had become afraid of students. Whenever she saw a phone in Yi-ri's hand, she felt anxious. After listening to her, Hwa Jin told her the story of his fiancée's tragic death. He also revealed that her own students had requested the ERPB's help because they wanted to save her life. He reminded her that running away would never solve the problem. His words gave Seon-young the courage to face her fears. The next day in class, she publicly refused Yi-ri's invitation to join the live stream and instead asked her to solve a question on the board. Yi felt deeply humiliated. Later, she tried to upload another post targeting Seon-young, but she discovered that she couldn't access it. Gundae had hacked her account, deleted her previous posts, and uploaded a rehearsal video that exposed how she had planned the false accusations against teacher Ko Young-soo. At that moment, Yi-ri's innocent image completely fell apart. She realized that her downfall had begun. Despite everything, Seon-young was still worried about Yi. Suddenly, she heard a knock on her door. When she opened it, Yi was standing outside. Yi angrily blamed Seon-young for ruining her reputation and attempted to kill her. During the struggle, Seon-young fell from the building. Fortunately, Hwa Jin jumped down just in time, shielded her with his own body, and took the impact himself. Han-rim also arrived at the scene. Yi tried to fight her as well. Han-rim overpowered her and told her that she wasn't going to kill her. Instead, she would have to live the rest of her life regretting everything she had done. At dawn, Hwa Jin and Seon-young were both safe. Even though blood was running down his head, Hwa Jin smiled and jokingly said that his sweat had turned red. Later, Hwa Jin visited Yi after she was arrested. She finally received the punishment she deserved. Unable to accept the ERPB team's second victory, Hwang Ji-tae called a press conference. Hwang Ji-tae revealed the true and dark origins of the Education Rights Protection Bureau. He exposed that the bureau had been secretly established by Minister Choi Gang-suk following the tragic murder of his daughter, Choi Jae-yoon, who was also Hwa Jin's fiancée, by a high school student. He claimed that the ERPB's true mission was nothing more than a tool for personal revenge, arguing that the students they were punishing were still children. His statement triggered a massive public backlash against the ERPB. However, neither Gang-suk nor Hwa Jin was affected by the criticism. In a flashback, it was revealed that a younger Hanrim was running away from a group of violent bullies when she met Hwa Jin. He rescued her from them, and that incident became a turning point in her life. Back in the present, following the press conference exposing the ERPB, Hanrim began to question the bureau's methods, and she requested a transfer. However, Hwa Jin refused her request and convinced her to stay. Soon after, the team received footage of an assault at Chukming Foreign Language High School, where student Park Hyeon-ung brutally punched teacher Cheon Sang-yeol. As part of the investigation, the ERPB learned that Cheon Sang-yeol was a nationally celebrated celebrity teacher who had helped the school achieve top rankings. He was also well known for motivating students to reach their full potential. The ERPB team arrived at the school. When Hwa Jin questioned Sang-yeol about the incident, he explained that he had recently started a special class and had asked Hyeon-ung to join it. According to Sang-yeol, Hyeon-ung behaved arrogantly during class, left without permission, and continued attending a private academy instead. Later, Sang-yeol even visited Hyeon-ung's parents to persuade them to let their son join the special class. However, when Hanrim met Hyeon-ung, he told a completely different story. He explained that after Sang-yeol visited his parents, their shop was forced to shut down. Later, after Sang-yeol found out about his private academy, his private tutor also stopped teaching him. Meanwhile, Gundae collected the list of the school's top students. Hyeon-ung ranked first, but strangely, every student below him in the top 10 was attending the same special academy. Gundae went to the academy to investigate, but he was not allowed inside. Outside, he met Hyung-ju, and the two had dinner together. Seeing Hyung-ju's happiness, Gundae felt proud of the work the ERPB had accomplished. Later, he informed Hanrim that Hyeon-ung, the school's top-ranked student, would not be able to take the upcoming exam because of the ongoing conflict with Sang-yeol. After gathering all the evidence, Hwa Jin confronted Sang-yeol. He accused him of creating the special class to force Park Hyeon-ung to study with lower-performing students and ultimately prevent him from taking the exam. Hwa Jin also revealed Sang-yeol's past. In a flashback, it was shown that Sang-yeol had previously been Han Yuri's middle school homeroom teacher. During that time, he cheated her out of her studies, ruining her academic future and causing her to lose trust in teachers. That betrayal eventually turned her into a bitter, revenge-driven person. Hwa Jin further revealed that Sang-yeol had been using extreme methods to boost the grades of young Soo-young, a student he personally sponsored. If Hyeon-ung missed the exam, Soo-young would become the top-ranked student. Sang-yeol denied every accusation. Later, Sang-yeol met Soo-young's mother, who became worried after hearing that the ERPB was investigating the case. Sang-yeol told her to make sure Soo-young memorized the exam answers because he already had a plan. In return, he would receive a large sum of money. Soon after, the media reported against the ERPB, accusing them over the celebrity teacher Sang-yeol case as well as their previous cases. Soon, arrest warrants were issued for the entire ERPB team except Gundae. Even officials arrived at Minister Choi Gang-suk's office to take him into custody. They all realized it was an attempt to prevent them from interfering with the upcoming exams. Before leaving, Gang-suk instructed Gundae on what he needed to do next. Meanwhile, Sang-yeol met Soo-young's mother and handed over the answers to the upcoming examination. The exam began as planned, and Sang-yeol was fully confident that everything would go according to his plan. Soon, he realized that Soo-young had scored 0. He quickly discovered that the order of the exam questions had been changed. Panicked, he rushed into the examination hall and demanded that the exam be stopped. Suddenly, Hwa Jin arrived and ordered everyone to continue the examination. Mu Yeol then tried to collect the students' answer sheets, but Hwa Jin kicked him to the ground. At that moment, a recorded conversation between Soo-young's mother and Mu Yeol was played through the school's broadcast system. Hwa Jin then revealed that the exam questions had never been changed, only the order of the questions had been rearranged. Since Soo-young didn't actually understand the concepts, she had simply memorized the sequence of answers provided by Mu Yeol. The previous night, Gundae had hacked into the school's surveillance system and secretly rearranged all the examination papers. The evidence completely destroyed the reputation Mu Yeol had built over the years. Meanwhile, during a public press conference, Minister Gang Suk revealed the truth behind the entire incident to restore the ERPB's reputation. He also released the names of the parents involved with Mu Yeol, including a well-known congressman from a rival political party who was present at the conference. Gang Suk concluded that the ERPB existed to tackle the root causes of school violence and corruption by holding toxic parents, corrupt educators, and delinquent students accountable. He ended his speech by saying that when the law fails, someone must stand up for those who have no one to protect them. Hyeonung's eyes filled with gratitude, and Hwa Jin smiled. Finally, Mu Yeol and everyone involved in the conspiracy were arrested. Before the ERPB team left the school, Hyeonung bowed to them with deep gratitude. Later, Hwa Jin arranged a meeting between Yiri and Mu Yeol. Yiri finally burst out with the anger she had carried for years. However, she realized that nothing could change everything she had already lost. Even then, Mu Yeol showed no guilt on his face. Seeing his expression, Hwa Jin felt uneasy. The next case came to the ERPB from the mother of Choi Ji-seon, a first-grade teacher at Hyeongjung Elementary School. After finding Ji-seon's diary, in which she contemplated suicide, her mother desperately sought help from the ERPB. When Han-rim arrived at the school, Ji-seon was standing on the edge of taking her own life. Han-rim immediately stopped her and conducted a mental health assessment. After reviewing the results, she told Ji-seon to take a break because she desperately needed time to recover. She also revealed that it was Ji-seon's mother who had asked the ERPB for help. Then the story unfolded. With great passion for teaching, Ji-seon had joined the school. At first, everything went well. One day, she called a student named Eugene for a self-introduction. Nervous, he couldn't speak a single word. Although Ji-seon handled the situation gently, Eugene's mother became upset. She confronted Ji-seon, accusing her of being too harsh on her son. Later that evening, she continued sending messages to Ji-seon's phone about the same incident. At first, Ji-seon simply wrote every parent's concern in her diary and didn't think much about it. A few days later, she asked Eugene to solve a simple problem on the board. Unable to do it, he burst into tears. Soon after, his mother flooded Ji-seon's phone with harsh messages, accusing her of humiliating her son in front of the entire class. As time passed, Eugene's mother began criticizing every tiny decision Ji-seon made. The constant messages became unbearable. Every notification frightened her, leaving her mentally exhausted and helpless. Things became even worse when Ji-seon posted a photo with her friends on Instagram. Eugene's mother publicly called her shameless in the comments. Ji-seon was shocked, wondering how closely this woman had been stalking her personal life. She reported everything to the principal, but instead of helping, the principal advised her to delete the app and avoid creating conflict with parents. Having no other choice, Ji-seon deleted her account. The next day, Ji-seon carefully prepared fun classroom activities to encourage the children. However, Eugene got into a fight with another student. To resolve the issue, Ji-seon invited both parents to school. Initially, the other parent was willing to settle the matter with a simple apology. But after hearing Eugene's mother arrogantly declare that her son had done nothing wrong, an argument broke out between the two parents. The official investigation later confirmed that Eugene had started the fight. Instead of accepting the truth, his mother completely lost control and blamed Ji Seon for everything. She even went to Ji Seon's house. When Ji Seon gently mentioned that Eugene could sometimes behave aggressively, his mother exploded in anger, accusing her of deliberately targeting her son. The following day, Eugene's father stormed into the school and tried to take his son away by force. When Ji Seon attempted to stop him, he almost hit her. Her life had become a complete nightmare. When Ji Seon filed an official complaint, Eugene's mother retaliated by filing another complaint, claiming that Ji Seon was mentally unfit to be a teacher. Overwhelmed by malicious complaints and false accusations of emotional child abuse, Ji Seon was pushed to the edge of a mental breakdown. The relentless stress and psychological harassment eventually caused her to develop facial paralysis. After learning the full story, the ERPB decided to assign Hwa Jin as the new homeroom teacher. Instead of confronting Eugene's mother directly, Hwa Jin chose to fight her using her own methods. He relentlessly spammed her phone with calls and urgent messages over the smallest details, asking which crayon Eugene should use, whether he had blinked too many times, or if she should come to school immediately. By doing this day and night, he forced her to experience the same suffocating anxiety she had inflicted on Ji Seon. When she finally stormed into the school in rage, Hwa Jin calmly confronted her with his signature smirk and exposed how her obsessive behavior was destroying both her son and everyone around him. He even visited her husband's workplace, pretending to apologize for repeatedly calling his wife late at night, embarrassing him in front of his colleagues. Furious, her husband rushed home, and the couple ended up arguing with each other. The next day, she went to the principal's office to file another complaint against Hwa Jin. This time, however, the principal firmly told her to proceed through the proper legal process. Unable to accept it, she barged into the classroom and dragged Eugene out. She then tried to turn the other parents against Hwa Jin, only to discover that he had already informed them about everything she had been doing. He openly accused her of emotionally abusing her own child through her obsessive behavior. Blinded by her arrogance, Eugene's mother convinced herself that Hwa Jin's relentless psychological tactics were nothing more than revenge planned by Ji Seon. Moments later, Ji Seon's phone rang. It was a heartbreaking call from Eugene. Terrified, she rushed to the classroom. Eugene's mother followed her to the school, but Hwa Jin stopped her. She burst out in anger, and Hwa Jin calmly took her to the classroom. There, she froze. Eugene was crying, not out of fear, but out of relief, as he tightly hugged teacher Ji Seon. Watching her own son find comfort in the very teacher she had tried to destroy finally shattered her pride. In the end, Eugene's mother faced legal consequences for her actions. Ji Seon finally returned to school with a genuine smile. Later, Minister Choi Gang-suk held a press conference, announcing that the case had been successfully resolved. That night, Hwa Jin started looking through Jae-yoon's diary and the details she had written in it. Gang-suk came to visit him. After seeing the files, he understood Hwa Jin's intentions and urged him not to investigate Jae-yoon's death any further, as Hwa Jin had begun to doubt the true reason behind her murder. Later, Hwa Jin, Han-rim, and Gundae saw a group of students in school uniforms trying to steal a car while dragging along a comatose girl. The students sped away, leading Hwa Jin to chase them. During the pursuit, Han-rim threw a bicycle in front of the car, forcing it to stop, and the students were arrested. However, they remained arrogant because they knew they were minors and believed no serious charges could be brought against them. The unconscious girl didn't say a single word, even when Han-rim questioned her. Gang-suk also arrived at the scene. After being released, the students vandalized Hwa Jin's car and ran away. Unable to tolerate their behavior any longer, Gang-suk ordered the ERPB to intervene. Gang-suk then sent the trio to Hyunjin Middle School, where the comatose girl, Yoon-jin, was a student. After investigating her condition, they discovered that Yoon-jin had become addicted to a synthetic weight loss drug. To pay for the pills, she had been forced by the drug dealer Ji-young to help with his illegal business. When Yunjin finally reported him to the police, Ji-young and his group were arrested. However, after being released, they became even more violent. At present, at Hyeonjin Middle School, Hwa Jin began questioning the students involved in the previous night's incident. Meanwhile, Hanrim asked the other students about the bullies, but nobody was willing to say anything against them. Gundae then arrived and informed her that the comatose girl, Oh Yunjin, was missing. The two searched the bullies' social media accounts and discovered a photo showing Yunjin's clothes inside a locked wardrobe. They immediately rushed to the location. After opening the wardrobe, they found Yunjin inside with bruises all over her body. Even then, she remained silent when Hanrim questioned her. However, when Hanrim opened the bag Yunjin was tightly holding, she discovered the drugs she had been using. Unable to hold back her emotions any longer, Yunjin burst into tears and confessed everything she had endured because of those boys. Hanrim immediately stormed into the room where Hwa Jin was questioning the boys. She shouted that they were not students anymore, they were drug dealers. The boys simply mocked her, saying that they were minors and that nobody could touch them. After receiving Yunjin's statement, the ERPB team chased each of the boys. One of them became frightened by a dog and jumped into the ERPB vehicle to escape. Gundae chased the other two, who were eventually dragged into the van as well. Another boy ran as far as he could and hid inside a boxing gym, where Hanrim's friends helped capture him. In the end, every one of them was caught. As punishment, the ERPB sent them to a juvenile detention center, where they were placed among convicted murderers. Unable to accept the new environment, the boys demanded to be released. Hanrim finally burst out all her anger and gave them a beating, just as they had arrogantly mocked her earlier. Under the supervision of Hanrim and Gundae, their daily schedule and activities began. During mealtime, they became a source of entertainment for the other inmates. They were also assigned dishwashing duty. Suddenly, unable to control his anger, Ji-young attacked Kim Soo-jayam. When Hwa Jin arrived, Kim Soo-jayam told him that he had no complaints. Later, Hwa Jin revealed that Kim Soo-jayam was no ordinary inmate. He was serving a life sentence for murdering the 4 bullies who had tormented him throughout high school. That revelation terrified Ji-young. When Ji-young noticed that Kim Soo-jayam was secretly hiding a spoon, he panicked even more. When the time came, Kim Soo-jayam attempted to attack Ji-young. Terrified, Ji-young cried out in fear. Later, Hwa Jin thanked Soo-jayam for helping with the plan, revealing that the prison attack had been arranged only to frighten Ji-young. Outside, the students' parents demanded that Choi Gang-suk release their sons. Gang-suk told them to return the next day to meet them. The ERPB arranged a meeting between the students and their parents. All of the boys cried in front of their parents and claimed that the ERPB had treated them cruelly. The parents immediately began accusing the ERPB. However, Choi Gang-suk presented evidence proving that the boys had been involved in drug abuse, violent assaults, and the abuse of other students, leaving their victims covered in bruises. He insisted that they must be punished for their actions. Realizing that the situation was getting out of control, the students begged to be released. Hwa Jin told them that forgiveness was not their decision to make. Only the victims had the right to forgive them. The boys regained a little hope when Yunjin was brought before them. However, Yunjin firmly said that she would never forgive them and that they deserved to be punished. Unable to control his anger, Ji-young rushed toward Yunjin to attack her, but Hanrim quickly stopped him. The police immediately took Ji-young back into custody and sent him back to prison. Inside the prison, an inmate asked Ji-young if he knew the leader of the drug organization. After confirming that Ji-young knew the identity but had kept it a secret, the inmate immediately tried to stab him with a weapon to silence him forever. Surprisingly, Gyu Cheol stepped in and took the stab wound himself to protect Ji-young. Hwa Jin froze. It was the very same Gyu Cheol who had murdered his fiancée. After receiving treatment, Gyu Cheol met Hwa Jin, knelt before him, broke down in tears, and claimed that he had been living with regret ever since. Hwa Jin remained silent. Without saying a word, he simply turned around and walked away. However, the moment Hwa Jin left, Gyu Cheol's expression completely changed, revealing that his remorse had only been an act. On the way back to the ERPB office, Gang Suk confronted Hwa Jin after noticing how deeply shaken he was by seeing Gyu Cheol again. During an ERPB meeting, a distressed parent arrived outside the office, but security stopped him. He fell to his knees in front of the ERPB team and begged them to save his son. He explained that while he was at work, he received a call from an unknown number demanding repayment of a debt. Later, the family discovered that their son, Lee Jae-yun, had accumulated an 85 million won debt due to his gambling addiction through online games, forcing them to repay the money. At home, Jae-yun acted innocent in front of his parents, but he secretly returned to gambling, causing even more financial damage. Debt collectors eventually came to his father's workplace and assaulted him. Left with no other choice, he even had to ask his manager for his retirement money to repay the debt. Now, his son had gone missing. He handed over all the information he had to the ERPB. Gang Suk promised that they would find Jae-yun. The ERPB began investigating the case and sent Gundae undercover to Nakwon High School, where many students were addicted to online gambling. Soon after arriving, another student introduced Gundae to the gambling game on his phone. His initial wins excited him, but he gradually became addicted and eventually lost all of his money. The next day, with Songbin's connections to loan sharks, Gundae arranged another loan. That money also disappeared through gambling. Gundae broke down in tears in front of Hwa Jin and Hanrim. When the debt collectors called, Hanrim answered the phone pretending to be Gundae's mother and angrily told them that she could never repay such a huge amount. To keep Gundae safe, Hwa Jin instructed Hanrim to stay with him at all times. However, while Hanrim stopped to buy some street food, Gundae was kidnapped by a group of thugs. Before they could confiscate his phone, Gundae secretly threw it away to protect his identity. Gundae was captured and forced to work in an online scam operation that targeted potential victims. Alongside him were several other students, also been trapped and forced to work for the organization. When Gundae tried to send a message to the ERPB, Jae-yun warned him about the hidden cameras. However, Jae-yun's actions resulted in him receiving a brutal punishment. Back at the ERPB, Hanrim was devastated because she blamed herself for failing to protect Gundae. Hwa Jin comforted and encouraged her not to lose focus. The next day, a server breakdown occurred at the hideout. Gundae stepped forward to fix the system. Impressed by his technical skills after he successfully repaired it, the boss rewarded him with a good meal. Meanwhile, the ERPB brought Songbin in for questioning because he had been promoting the gambling games. While examining the game's interface, they noticed that it was flashing in an unusual pattern. While repairing the system, Gundae secretly used his technical skills to send a Morse code message through the interface. The ERPB successfully decoded it and located the hideout. Hwa Jin and Hanrim immediately arrived at the location and began taking down the criminals one by one. None of them were a match for the ERPB inspectors. They finally found Gundae along with several other students who had also been held captive. Hwa Jin then went after the boss of the operation, but several thugs blocked his path. A massive fight broke out, and Hwa Jin defeated each of them with ease. He then discovered a hidden escape passage. Without hesitation, Hwa Jin chased after the lone shark and eventually caught him. He broke the man's arm, and every punch reflected the suffering he had caused countless families. Meanwhile, Hanrim and Gundae found Jae-yun. He was in poor health, and they realized that he was the missing son of the father who had come to the ERPB asking for help. In the end, the lone shark and the entire gambling organization were arrested. Hwa Jin made Songbin and Jae-yun realize the consequences of their gambling addiction, the pain they had caused their parents, the humiliation they had endured, and the wealth their families had lost because of them. Both of them sincerely admitted their mistakes and agreed to work part-time jobs to repay their debts. Finally, Hwa Jin gave them each a pager, a small wireless communication device, so he could keep an eye on them and help prevent them from falling back into gambling again. The ERPB decided to monitor drug use among students in every school. During the investigation, Sunjian High School refused to cooperate with the ERPB. When the ERPB arrived to investigate, student Young Hyemin suddenly collapsed and began bleeding from his nose. He was immediately taken to the hospital. His mother rushed there, gave him some medicine, and took him back to school so he could continue his exam. After the examination, the ERPB insisted that all the students undergo a urine test. However, many parents refused, claiming that their children had private tuition classes to attend. Hwa Jin assured the parents that the drug test was being conducted to protect their children, not to harm them. He then suggested carrying out the test the following morning before the exam so it wouldn't interfere with their studies. His explanation reassured the parents, and they finally agreed. The next morning, the parents brought their children to school for the drug test. Soon after, the previous day's exam results were announced. Hyemin's mother completely lost control after seeing his poor score. Hyemin explained that he had been sick, but she ignored him. Instead, she listed all the sacrifices she had made and blamed him for not taking his pills on time. The story then shifts to the past. Hyemin had been living under immense pressure from his mother, who was determined to make him a doctor. It was revealed that she deprived him of proper nutrition and sleep because she believed studying was more important than his health. She also built close relationships with other parents, constantly comparing their children's academic performance. Despite all the pressure, Hyemin's scores still failed to satisfy her. One day, while talking to another parent, she was secretly given a pill that supposedly improved concentration. She didn't stop there. She eventually obtained unauthorized ADHD medication and forced Hyemin to take it. The drugs initially worked, and his grades improved, making his mother extremely happy. However, Hyemin gradually became dependent on the medication, and the side effects slowly began to appear. At present, the students' urine test results were released, revealing that young Hyemin had tested positive for methylphenidate and atomoxetine, prescription ADHD stimulants that had been taken without proper authorization, putting his health at serious risk. Hwa Jin informed the parents that these pills were ADHD medications and that possessing or supplying them without proper authorization was illegal in South Korea. He explained that the parents had not only supplied illegal drugs to their children but had also violated the Narcotics Control Act. Meanwhile, at home, Hyemin's mother kept him isolated and pressured him to continue preparing for the CSAT. Desperate to calm his anxiety, Hyemin begged for more pills. When Hwa Jin arrived at the apartment, Hyemin's mother refused to open the door. As Hyemin was about to take another pill, Hanrim broke into the apartment and stopped him just in time. Hwa Jin confronted Hyemin's mother and accused her of supplying illegal narcotics to her own son. Although she claimed she never understood the dangers of the medication, Hwa Jin pointed out that she had ignored every warning sign. He told her that she would rather destroy her own son than accept his academic failure. The ERPB placed Hyemin's mother under house arrest while Hyemin was admitted to the hospital for treatment. Hanrim praised Gundae for helping save Hyemin's life. Meanwhile, Hwa Jin forced Hyemin's mother to live the same exhausting routine she had imposed on her son for years. He controlled her sleeping hours and meals, making her experience the same pressure and suffering that Hyemin had endured. At the hospital, Hyemin struggled through severe withdrawal symptoms. Gundae encouraged him to stay strong and overcome the pain. Hyemin confessed that he had spent years preparing for a future chosen by his mother and had often thought about ending his own life. He admitted that the pills were the only reason he had been able to keep going. Gundae encouraged him to stop feeling guilty about disappointing his mother. When Hyemin confessed that he no longer knew what he truly wanted in life, Gundae took him to the hospital library and encouraged him to explore books that genuinely interested him. Elsewhere, Hyemin's mother begged Hwa Jin for mercy, but he refused to sympathize with her. He reminded her that Hyemin had sacrificed his own happiness just to fulfill her dreams. Later, Hwa Jin took her to the hospital to meet her son. Even then, the first thing she asked was whether he was still preparing for the CSAT. For the first time, Hwa Jin stood up for himself. He told his mother that he no longer wanted to attend medical school. When she urged him to continue preparing for the examination, Hwa Jin refused and said that his health and recovery mattered more. He asked his mother to stop living through his future and instead start pursuing her own dreams. Later, Gang-suk addressed the public about the growing misuse of ADHD medication and other narcotics among students trying to improve their academic performance. He announced that the ERPB would begin conducting drug tests before major examinations to prevent similar incidents from happening again. Meanwhile, Hwang Ji-tae sought Cho Gyu Cheol's help to bring down Choi Gang-suk because he wanted to eliminate him politically. After learning about Gyu Cheol's violent past, Ji-tae planned to use his history and manipulate the media to sway public opinion against the ERPB while exposing the bureau's origins. Soon, news reports began airing allegations that Hwa Jin was responsible for assaulting a juvenile inmate. At the same time, Hwa Jin examined the confiscated drugs and noticed a familiar clue that matched something written in Jae-yoon's diary, making him even more suspicious about the truth behind her death. Gyu Cheol learned that the ERPB had begun interfering with drug distribution in schools. With Hwang Ji-tae's support, Gyu Cheol was released from prison and returned to school. Gyu Cheol's return to school sparked massive protests outside Jinwon High School. Parents, teachers, and the public strongly opposed allowing a convicted murderer back into the classroom. Meanwhile, Gang-suk, Hanrim, and Gundae discussed the situation, but Gang-suk refused to comment on Gyu Cheol's release. Hwa Jin then visited Gyu Cheol at the school and made it clear that he was dealing with him only in his capacity as an ERPB inspector. He informed Gyu Cheol that he would be closely monitored to determine whether he was fit to return to a normal school environment. At school, the students constantly called Gyu Cheol a murderer and treated him with hostility, but he tried to ignore them. While observing the students, Gyu Cheol noticed a group of classmates playing mobile games together. Later, he visited the ERPB office and reported that some students were bullying his classmate. Although Hanrim wanted to throw him out, Gang-suk decided to listen to his complaint. Gyu Cheol deliberately mentioned Jae-yoon's name to provoke both Gang-suk and Hwa Jin, but neither of them reacted. Hanrim admitted that she did not trust Gyu Cheol's intentions, but Hwa Jin refused to ignore the report. He went to Jinwon High School and spoke with Jang Song-gu's teacher to find out whether the student was really being bullied. The teacher denied the allegations. Hwa Jin then questioned Song-gu privately. Song-gu also denied being bullied, but Hwa Jin noticed that his classmates were using Song-gu's mobile hotspot so they could continue playing online games with his internet connection. Even then, Song-gu defended his friends and asked Hwa Jin to stay out of the matter. Meanwhile, Gundae and Hanrim visited a cybercafe to gather evidence. When Gundae's cover was blown, Hanrim secretly sneaked inside and took Lee Chi-ho's phone. The investigation revealed that Chi-ho and his friends were exploiting Song-gu and using his account to scam people online. Eventually, one of the victims tracked Song-gu down and beat him up after realizing he had been scammed. The following day, Song-gu asked Chi-ho for his share of the money, but Chi-ho refused. Song-gu's mother confronted Chi-ho's mother, but Chi-ho responded by falsely accusing Song-gu of harassing his sister. After questioning her son about his spending, Song-gu's mother finally learned the truth. Encouraged by Gyu Cheol, Song-gu gathered the courage to tell Hwa Jin everything. At the same time, Chi-ho filed a complaint accusing Song-gu of bullying him. Hwa Jin attended the school violence committee hearing, where Chi-ho was treated as the victim while Song-gu was portrayed as the bully. Although Song-gu insisted that he was the real victim, the committee demanded evidence. Most of the committee members spoke in Chi-ho's favor and argued that Song-gu had been fairly compensated for helping his friends. Chi-ho's lawyer even suggested that Song-gu write a formal apology to settle the matter. Meanwhile, Song-gu went into hiding. Hwa Jin tracked him down and encouraged him, promising that the ERPB would help him. The bureau then sent Hanrim to Jinwon High School as an undercover student. She befriended Chi-ho and deliberately gave him access to her social media accounts and Wi-Fi connection. As expected, Chi-ho and his friends eagerly took advantage of the opportunity. However, Hanrim had planned everything in advance. She secretly encrypted their phones, allowing Gundae to gain remote access to all of their devices. Using their accounts, Gundae began scamming people in exactly the same way Chiho and his friends had exploited Songgu. After experiencing the same treatment for several days, Chiho finally lost his temper and lashed out at Hanrim. Hanrim immediately accused him of harassing her and threatened to report him to the school violence committee. This time, Hwa Jin arrived with evidence supporting Hanrim's claims and accused Chiho of harassment. Chiho denied every accusation and became aggressive. Hwa Jin reminded him that he had used the very same tactics against Songgu before, revealing that Hanrim was actually an undercover ERPB inspector. He also dissolved the school violence committee because of its biased investigation. In the end, Chiho and his family were publicly humiliated, while Songgu finally cleared his name. Songgu and his mother thanked the ERPB for helping them. Meanwhile, Gyu Cheol thanked Hwa Jin for taking his report seriously. Afterwards, the ERPB left the school, and Hwa Jin drove Gang-suk home after picking him up from a bar. During the drive, both of them reflected on Jae-yoon and reminisced about the memories they had shared with her. Elsewhere, Chiho confronted Gyu Cheol and accused him of betraying him. A flashback revealed that Gyu Cheol had previously encouraged Chiho to file a false counter-accusation against Songgu. Now, Chiho blamed both Gyu Cheol and the ERPB for ruining his life. Without warning, Gyu Cheol pushed Chiho off the school building. News of the incident quickly spread across social media. The next morning, Gyu Cheol visited Jae-tae's office and left behind part of a recording in which Chiho blamed the ERPB for destroying his life. Jae-tae was shocked by Gyu Cheol's actions and realized that the teenager had planned everything from the very beginning, including his own release from prison. Jae-tae then took the recording to the hospital where Chiho was being treated and publicly accused Gang-suk and the ERPB of driving a student to attempt to end his life. Public opinion shifted against the ERPB, and the bureau became the primary target of news reports. Gundae claimed that there was no clear CCTV footage showing what had actually happened that night. However, they noticed Chiho talking to someone before the incident and began wondering what had really taken place. Meanwhile, Hwa Jin confronted Gyu Cheol and accused him of trying to shut down the ERPB so he could continue expanding his drug business. A flashback then revealed that Jae-yoon had once forced Gyu Cheol to attend school. She constantly encouraged him to change his ways and leave his gangster lifestyle behind. Instead, Gyu Cheol decided to use fellow students to distribute drugs for him, believing that doing so would finally get Jae-yoon off his back. Although Jae-yoon was initially pleased to see him attending school, she soon discovered the drugs hidden inside his bag and threw them away. Enraged, Gyu Cheol stabbed her, killing the very teacher who had been trying to help him rebuild his life. Unable to control his anger, Hwa Jin punched Gyu Cheol. The incident quickly went viral online, forcing the ERPB to suspend its operations. Meanwhile, Jae-tae took advantage of the situation to undermine the bureau's reputation even further. Students began refusing to cooperate with the ERPB and instead rallied behind Gyu Cheol. With the ERPB temporarily out of the picture, Gyu Cheol instructed his followers, including Songgu, to transport drugs for him. He paid them commissions, and the operation rapidly expanded throughout the school. Soon, Songgu realized that more and more students were becoming addicted, not only to consuming the drugs but also to selling and transporting them. He tried to contact Hwa Jin for help, but Gyu Cheol and his associates stopped him. It was then revealed that Hwa Jin had deliberately punched Gyu Cheol and allowed the ERPB to be suspended as part of a larger plan to uncover Gyu Cheol's true intentions. He secretly launched an operation to expose the entire drug network and enlisted the help of teachers whom the ERPB had previously assisted. Gang-suk privately contacted those teachers and asked for their cooperation. Ms. Choi immediately agreed to help, and many others joined the operation. Together, the teachers secretly collected the drugs circulating throughout the school and handed them over to the ERPB as evidence. At the same time, Hanrim and Gundae went undercover to collect drugs from the students. Gundae also used Songhwan and Inbeom to pressure the drug peddlers. Together, they placed large orders to exhaust Gyu Cheol's drug supply and prevent more students from consuming the drugs. Meanwhile, Gangsuk publicly exposed Gyu Cheol's drug network, and public opinion quickly shifted in favor of the ERPB. The ERPB immediately returned to Jinwon High School and confidently resumed its investigation. Hwa Jin searched the school for the drugs, but Gyu Cheol and his associates escaped before they could be arrested. During the operation, Hanrim accidentally inhaled some of the drugs and, while under their influence, attacked Gyu Cheol's associates. She gave Hwa Jin a salute, and he immediately understood. Gundae stayed behind to take care of her while Hwa Jin continued chasing Gyu Cheol. As Gundae helped Hanrim recover, Hwa Jin fought off Gyu Cheol's men and continued the pursuit. When Gyu Cheol realized Hwa Jin was closing in, he threatened to have Songgu killed. He then stabbed Hwa Jin. At the same time, one of Gyu Cheol's associates attacked Songgu. Hanrim and Gundae witnessed everything. As the drugs took control of her, Hanrim desperately begged Gundae to bring her back to her senses. With no other choice, Gundae kissed Hanrim, finally bringing her back to her senses. She immediately jumped into the fight and effortlessly took down Gyu Cheol's associates one by one. None of them were a match for her. Enraged, Hwa Jin punched Gyu Cheol and beat him mercilessly. Gyu Cheol tried to provoke him by bringing up Jae-yoon's final words. However, instead of giving in to his anger, Hwa Jin told Gyu Cheol to rebuild his life someday because that was what Jae-yoon would have wanted. Gyu Cheol was arrested once again. Gangsuk initially remained calm and promised that Gyu Cheol would receive the punishment he deserved. However, after seeing Hwa Jin's condition, he lost control and tried to attack Gyu Cheol himself. Meanwhile, Jae-tae was arrested for collaborating with Gyu Cheol. Before being taken away, he vowed that once he was released from prison, he would destroy Gangsuk. In response, Gangsuk punched Jae-tae to silence him. Later, Gangsuk addressed the people of South Korea and spoke about the sacrifices made by teachers and students to protect the integrity of the education system. He promised that the ERPB would continue protecting victims, whether they were teachers, parents, or students. Afterward, Hwa Jin and Gangsuk took Hanrim and Gundae to Jae-yoon's grave to pay their respects. While standing there, the two noticed Hanrim and Gundae awkwardly trying to hide their feelings for each other. In the final scene, at Kangju High School, Gundae arrived dressed like Hwa Jin and tried to teach a bully a lesson. However, he quickly found himself intimidated by the student. Hanrim arrived to help, but even the two of them struggled against the bully. Just when things seemed to be getting out of control, Hwa Jin appeared and stepped in once again. And with that, the story of Teach You a Lesson comes to an end. In my opinion, this isn't just another action K-drama. It's an eye-opening reminder of the challenges that can exist inside schools. While the drama takes them to the extreme, it highlights important issues like bullying, academic pressure, drug abuse, gambling, cybercrime, and the struggles faced by both students and teachers. What makes this drama truly special is that every case carries a meaningful lesson rather than focusing only on action. If you enjoyed this complete explanation, please leave a like, subscribe to Movie Time Gen, and let me know your thoughts about the drama in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next story. Until then, take care.